Hello there, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Knox to Nuggets. Again, I'm your host, Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this beautiful Monday morning. And like I will always say, we thank God always for the gift of life because we cannot take it for granted. It's because we have life that we are here together today. And today we are continuing the series still about the temperament. And today we're talking about shaping without breaking. And last week was interesting, and I loved the way our guest Miracle spoke about the four types of temperaments using colors. I mean, that gave it a strong impression in me and in quite a number of people as well. So talking about the gold, the orange, the blue, and the green temperament. So when you say a child is gold, is orange, is blue, it's green, you know what you're talking about. It talks about the child's genetically defined traits and character. But yes, so your child is gold or is orange or is blue or is green, you can still make that child the best. How? What can we do? How do we guide these children? How do we shape them without breaking them? That's our conversation today. And so thank you to every single person joining me live. I do not take it for granted at all. Thank you so much for a share of your time. And like I always say, please like the video, share it. Let somebody out there know that there is something called Nuts to Nuggets. And for those that watch thereafter, thank you so much for giving me a share of your time as well. I do not take it for granted. And again, I say, please like the video. No matter the channel you're watching on, please hop up to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that community. Let's build this community together, impacting lives, fulfilling purpose. That's all Knox to Nugget is all about. Thank you so much for being here. And today we are continuing still with Miracle Ihuoma. Is no longer a guest in the house, as a friend in the house, and you've met him last week. But in case you have not, is a conference speaker, very dynamic speaker, I must admit, is a host, is a clinical psychologist, is a mentor to several, is an author, is so much, and has built a career that's have affected lives. And so I'm bringing him backstage today. So join me to receive back on Knox to Nugget, Miracle Ihuoma.
Good morning,
Good
everybody.
to
Good
have
morning,
you.
ma'am. It's good to be here again.
Good to have you.
I'm excited.
Real good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
So today, Miracle, we're going to be building on what you did last week, talking about the four temperaments. I mean, the gold, the orange, the blue, the green. And I'm asking myself, how do we help? Okay, let me use the orange, for instance. The orange is a very playful person, loves to play, loves everything play. But we want to help this child to also read, to also concentrate, to also develop in other aspects. How do you shape a child without breaking the will?
Okay. Question. So, first of all, we need to understand the purpose of personality discovery or temperament discovery. That we are not discovering personality, understanding personality or temperament so that we can give excuses for our children, or even ourselves. So, because I've met people who would do certain things and say that, don't you know I'm this personality or I'm this temperament, that's why I behave the way I behave. So a lot of times people give excuses as a result of that. Even parents can also give excuses for their children as a result of their children's personality. That's not why you learn about temperament. You're not learning about it so that you can give excuse for your children. No, you're learning about it primarily to understand your children, to understand yourself. Because a lot understanding can do. When understanding is in place, empathy is also in effect. When understanding is in place, empathy usually follows because you now know where this is coming from, so you can empathize. So, in the areas where the child has a weakness, you can show understanding, you can show empathy, knowing that that might not necessarily be the strength of that child. That is the first reason we learn about temperament. Then there's another reason we learn about temperament, and that is, of course, to begin to help your child develop their strengths and also work on their weaknesses, to develop their strengths and also work on their weaknesses. When the second part is not in place, you haven't fully understood temperament, because you need to, I tell people that self development must actually follow self discovery. The essence of self-discovery is self-development. There's no need with discovering yourself if that will not shine the torchlight or point you to how and where you need to develop yourself. So you now need to say, my child has strengths in these areas, so let's maximize them. For example, talking about the orange has strengths, obvious strengths. One of the strengths of the orange is his mouth. He can talk. He's a
Mm,
talkative, right? He can yap all day just talking. He can motivate other people. He can inspire people. He's creative in the way he thinks. He's also entertaining. He's an entertainer. So one, when you know that this is strength, you now say, okay, how can we maximize this strength? How can we channel this energy into something productive? But then you now also need to understand that the orange is somebody who is not very disciplined. He's not somebody who
mm,
like to, he doesn't pay attention to details and all of that. So you now need to create structures and systems in place that would help him or her to develop those traits. Because you can't say again that as he's not somebody who likes details, so let's just leave him. No, you won't leave him, even though you know that at the end of the day, he or she might not be as detailed as maybe a green, for example, right? You know that they might not be as detailed as that, but still you would help them to develop that aspect of their lives, because everybody requires a level of detail, and conscientiousness to be able to function optimally. So, but then with that understanding, you are a bit more patient, because this is not a strength for this person. So you won't begin to compare them with another child who is a green, who has the natural trait of conscientiousness, of being analytical and being detailed, because this is a weakness. The same way you won't also um, say to the green, can't you be like your brother, your sister, who is friendly and sociable? Because that is not something that is natural for them as well. So the way to shape and not to break is to employ understanding, is to employ empathy in how you help them to develop these traits that they might naturally be lacking in. Because once you understand that it's not natural for them, then you know that, okay, they might need time to work on it. They might need a lot of training. They might also need to put in a lot of patience, and put also structures and systems to help them in developing those traits.
mm. Thank you so much for. I like what you said, that when you understand the personality, then empathy kicks in. But I'll still come back on the green and the orange that you use as example. A child says, "But mommy, I don't like meeting people. You're asking me to go to a party. I don't feel like going. You know, uh, what do you do?" Because it's easy to say, well, because the child, it just loves the space. It just loves to read. It just loves to be indoors. So let's leave the child. After all, that's a strength. But if you allow that child go that way, it will be a social, I don't want to use the word in my mouth right now. So you need to push. How do you push without breaking?
Yes. So how you push without breaking, again, is employing empathy. Because when empathy is in place, then your approach is different. As against, you must go. Why would you say you are not going? For what? How will I? I'm your mother. I'm your father. I will tell you something to do, and then you won't do it. You understand, because understanding is there. You know that, okay, this is not the strength of this person. So it's not like this person is saying they won't go because they are they are arrogant or because they are not nice. It's not something that comes natural for them. They don't feel like going. Yeah, because a lot of the times I tell people that we must differentiate between a weak between weakness and wickedness. Because a lot of the times people always, and that's why it is difficult for people to forgive. That's why it's difficult for people to understand other people, because many times weakness is displayed, but they interpret it as wickedness. So they say this child is just being wicked. Why this child is obviously weak in that area, but they are not wicked. So when you understand that it is not natural for them, you understand that it's a weakness, it's not wickedness. That would then drive your method of conversation, your method of correction to say, okay, let's have a discussion about this. Why don't you want to go? Because even having conversations with children, a lot of times parents don't think that children have a voice. And that's one of the worst things you can do to a child, because if a child feels like they don't have a voice, they will go into their shell, they'll keep a lot of things from you, but many times they will still go ahead to do what they want to do in your absence. So you need to make them feel like they have a voice, they have an opinion. Hear them out. Ask them, okay, so why don't you want to go? So he or she will give you their reasons to say, okay, this is why I don't want to go more. I don't feel like going. I don't do very well with people. And then you can, when they have said such, you can show understanding again, show empathy again. Say, okay, I understand. Because empathy is actually understanding the other person. That's what empathy simply means. Empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Empathy is seeing things from their frame of reference. Empathy is not necessarily agreeing with the other person. That's not what it means. It means even though I don't agree with you, I understand you. That's what empathy is. So when your child says all of that, empathy is not saying, oh, I agree with everything you said. No, it is saying, though I don't agree with the things that you have said, I understand you. I understand where you're coming from. When you show understanding and acceptance, you have a greater chance and a greater propensity to influence your children. Yeah, because influence is not coercing your children. They are two different things. Because you can either decide to be an autocratic leader, or you can decide to be a servant leader. An autocratic leader says, because mom says it, you must do it. Because dad says it, you must do it. A servant leader says, hey, I understand you, right? But this is why you need to do it. Let me tell you the importance of mixing with other people, relating with other people, going out. And then you reel out the importance of doing that, telling him or her that these are actually the benefits. When you go out to meet other people, it will help you to develop even this part of you that you feel like you're weak in. You begin to become more comfortable with other people. It will help you, because this world you can't do without relating with people. You want to grow up. Maybe you want to be a doctor. You want to be an accountant. When you become all of that, you will need to relate with people. But how then would you do that then if you have not learned it now? So that's why it's good. Yeah, I'm not saying you should do that every time, but once in a while, go out, meet with people and all of that. Yeah, of course,
Hmm.
I can help you through the process. We will do it together. I'm here for you. Now that's the approach. As against, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Why are you being stupid? And all of that. Yeah. So that way you are shaping, and then you are not breaking that child. The esteem of the child is still intact, the mental health of the child is still intact, and the emotional stability of the child is still intact. And again, this is even proven to produce better and far more results than the other way around.
Wow, I agree totally with you, but I want to speak from the parents' perspective, from the adults' perspective, from the teacher's perspective. It's a tough one to do. Many times you feel like you should just pull out your cane this child into submission. When you say go, the guy is saying yes, sir. When you say sit, the child is saying yes, sir. because you kind of seem to get more results faster that way than this route of empathy. Because now you're not taking care of only one child. You have 3, 4, 5. God help you, a teacher, you have 10, 12 children in your class, and you have to relate with all of them. And they're different personalities. This looks like a long way to go. So the shortcut really is to pull out the cane like our own generation was raised. Tell them, sit down, shut up, and get going. And that generation seems to say, we got better results. What do you think?
Yeah, so I tell people that there's a difference between change in behavior and behavior modification. They are two different things. Two of them actually experience a change in behavior, but one is temporal, the other is somewhat permanent. Yeah. So that a child changes their behavior does not mean that behavior has been modified. That is why you will see children temporarily behave in a certain type of way, but then in the future they behave opposite of how they are behaved in front of you, because they have a temporal and an external motivation which is coming from punishment or coming from caning and all of that. So yes, when you cane, they might align, but they are only aligning because of the fear of cane, not because that behavior on the inside of them has been eradicated. So when there is no longer the presence of caning or that punishment, they will revert back to their real selves. Yeah. And even when they don't, most times you would have killed something in that child. It is why a lot of African children actually lack authenticity, lack courage, lack that ingenuity, because a lot was killed in them while they were growing up through caning, intense punishment, and what have you. A child, for instance, behaves like a child, does what a child would do, and we cane that child for being a child. Yeah, it only happens in Africa, where a child is punished for being a child. A child breaks a plate in the house, and then you are beating the child for breaking a plate. But then you, as an adult, you may have also broken a plate before. Who beat you? Did you beat yourself? No, you did not. But you beat a child for breaking a plate. But that's him being a child. You beat a child for playing. What else would a child do if not play? So when you do all of that, you are killing the esteem of that child. You are killing the ingenuity of that child. So that child grows up and then they are not even courageous. They can't dare things. They can't even have initiative. They go to work in an organization and the boss has to tell them everything they need to do. No initiative to do things, because that has been killed by the parents. Yeah. And that child grows up to invent. They can't invent because their biggest testimony becomes a used car that they bought from somebody else who has used it for maybe 10 years or something like that, as against other children, other clients who are building those cars, who are inventing things, because those things have been killed from a lot of shouting. Africa, we shout a lot. From a lot of caning, from a lot of punishment. All of that kills the esteem of a child. Yeah. So it's important to understand and differentiate between behavior modification and change in behavior. When there's behavior modification, it means that behavior has been modified. That behavior has actually changed from the root. But when there's change in behavior, it might be temporal as a result of fear for a particular person or a particular punishment that they would face. So it might look like caning is the shortest route, then it has a more lasting negative effect. Why having that interaction, having conversations, talking, and all of that might seem like a long route, but then that is what will have a long lasting effect in the life of your child. Words are actually the greatest instrument of change and of behavior modification, especially when you're training children.
I hear you.
I hear you.
Words are the greatest instrument, but sometimes words are slow. Now, I want to divert a bit and talk about caning. I mean, one of the things that has gone viral in today's world is caning is bad, don't cane a child, never cane a child. Are we saying that we should actually never cane a child? I mean, what's your thought on that?
Okay, you're putting me on the spot right there. Okay, this is Africa. Caning is something that's very sensitive to us, and we hold it very dearly. We make it look like cane is, if you are not cane. In fact, somebody the other day um, posted a skit of how a parent took her child to see a therapist, and then the therapist told the mom told the therapist about the issue she was going through. The child right there was throwing tantrums, saying being very disrespectful to the mom and to the therapist as well. And the mom was condoning it and all of that. And then the therapist said, "Okay, no problem. I know exactly what to do." So ask the mom to give them, some personal time. And the mom went outside of the room. Then the therapist brought out belt, brought out cane, brought out, what we call koboko, whip, you know, and then dealt with the child. And then afterwards, called the mother in. By the time the mother came in, the boy prostrated to greet the mom. It was a totally different person, you know. And of course, it was a funny skit, but at the same time, it propagated corporal punishment. And I'm not for corporal punishment, right? Because it just made it look like, okay, when you cane your child, they would still straighten their head. So of course, I commented on somebody shared it who I know. I commented trying to give my own take that, okay, this is encouraging corporal punishment. There are other methods that might work better. Of course, the person was quick to quote the Bible to me. Yeah. So this Africa where we are very sensitive to things like this. So, but the truth is, I'm not against caning, right? Your child, but I think that there are rules to caning that everybody must know and imbibe. There are rules, and I'll share a few of them. Number one is, if you have ever, if as a child you were abused or you were given corporal punishment, caned excessively by your parents, or teachers or guardians, you should never use caning as a method to discipline your children. The reason that is so is because when you employ caning, you will most likely go overboard. Yeah, you will most likely go overboard because of that trauma in your own life. That's one. Number two is, never beat a child for something that you haven't taught them. If you haven't taught your child about something, don't cane them for it. That would be injustice. That would be preposterous. It will be unfair to do that to your child. Number three, never beat a child for what you have taught them, but haven't given them enough time to incorporate into their lives. So, if you teach a child something today, you can't be caning them for it tomorrow or even next week. You have to give them enough time to be able to learn what you have taught them before you can then say, "Oh, I've given you enough time, so now you have to begin to suffer the consequences." Number what now? The next number,
Four.
I can't remember how many I've said. Okay, number four, never beat a child for being a child. Like I said, if a child is being a child, why would you want to cane them for being a child? Example of being a child is playing. If a child is playing, why you cane them for being a child? If a child hasn't learned some things that you feel they should, that's what's up with being a child, really. Every one of us passed through that process. We were once in that shoe. will behave that particular way. So we need to cut them some slack. Number 5, never beat a child for making a human mistake. The child makes a mistake. Why cane them for making a mistake? A mistake that anybody can make. A mistake that even you can make. So you don't want to beat your child just because they made a mistake. As long as the mistake is not like a recurrent behavior or behavioral pattern, why beat them for it? So never cane your child for making a mistake. Yeah. So these are some of the rules, right, of caning. If you must cane, you must make sure that you are doing it the appropriate way. Yeah. And let me add one more. Never beat a child when you are angry. Yeah. Because if you beat a child when you're angry, you will most likely damage that child. Because a lot of parents, honestly, beat children not out of love, but out of anger. But even caning should come from a place of love and not anger. Not that, oh, you just did this thing, I'm so angry right now, and then you start beating them. No. It is that you want to let them know what you did is wrong, and I want to correct you for doing it. And this is going to be the consequence. And then it is coming from a place of love. That way it is measured and it is civil. When it is out of anger, it can be overboard, injure that child physically and even emotionally.
Wow. Very true. Thank you so much, Miracle. You actually made very, very strong points there. Yes. And really, if we apply these principles you have said, most likely we won't cane those children. Because by the time you judge them against number 1, 2, by the time you get into number 6, the cane has dropped off your hand. You have realized that you can talk to the child, you can have a conversation, you can correct the child in more ways than you actually using the cane. So you are so correct. And wow, time is fast spent. I want to allow you to give us your last words about shaping and not breaking.
Okay, my last words would be make sure you employ and continue to employ understanding, continue to employ empathy in your parenting. You must infuse it. It is very, very critical. I know that sometimes children can be a pain, you know, in our lives, in the neck. Children can be annoying, quote unquote. Then they actually come into this world. That's why you must understand that parenting is is not just having children. Parenting goes beyond that. Parenting is knowing the skills, having the expertise to be able to develop a child into become a responsible adult and citizen in the society. Keyword there is responsible, not just um, a citizen, but a responsible one. So you must remember that that's your role as a parent. And you must know at the end of the day, whatever you do after 18 years, you will start seeing your report card. So give it your best, give it your all, and I'm sure your children will turn out right.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Miracle. Give it your best, give it your all, and I'm sure your children will turn out right. Thank you so much, Miracle, for coming on the show. Looking forward to having you some other time. And like I will always say, the reward for good work is more work. So be sure I will come again soon. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. God bless you and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Wow. I mean, I have my notebook full. I thought I was just going to write 1 or 2 things, but I actually have my notebook full. And I hope you also did take some notes. But beautiful thing is it's actually there right there on YouTube for you to watch again and again and refer other friends, parents, guardians, teachers to that page to go listen again and apply it. Most importantly, apply it. Children are being committed into our hands to shape and not to break. And we can do that if we put all of these principles to work. Number 1, understand that child, know their temperament. And knowing their temperament is not because we want to give excuses to their bad behavior, because we want to understand why they do what they do so you can actually correct them right. And number 2, when you understand them, be empathetic. correct from the point of love, and watch them become the best that God has created them to be. And that is it for today. Thank you to every single person that has joined me. Thank you for those that have passed their comments, that have liked, that have shared. I really do appreciate it. And like I always say, please still like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would love us to build this community together. And next week, Monday, we are still continuing on parenting. And I have another child psychologist coming into the house to talk more about this, and you don't want to miss it. So mark your calendar, make it a date with me next week, Monday by 7:45. But until then, remember, if you can think it, you can be it. And yes, you can have it. And as always, together we win. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. And bye for now.